Next up on the UFC 261 main card, it is a rematch over a decade in the making as Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall meet. Weidman, the 36-year-old from Long Island, which Hall assured us this week does not count as New York, is 15-5 overall. He is 11-5 in the UFC. He is, of course, the former UFC middleweight champion and was at one point considered to be the future of the division. He'll be meeting Hall, the 36-year-old New Yorker, fighting out of Fortis MMA in Texas, is 16-9 overall. He is 9-7 in the UFC. He is on a 3-fight winning streak over Bevon Lewis, Antonio Carlos Jr., aka Shoeface, and he put away the legend Anderson Silva on the UFC's Halloween card in the headliner. The odds are close on this one. Weidman is the slight favorite at -115. Hall, not quite even money, but he's out there as low as -105. Josh, Weidman destroyed Hall 10.5 years ago. Does that have any bearing on this Saturday's fight? And who do you think wins?
I think it does have bearing because Uriah Hall has shown us that sometimes mentally he can go off the reservation a little bit. And so clinging to that, it was the first loss of his career, first time he tasted a setback in mixed martial arts. He has shown us time and time again that when things are clicking, he's extremely dangerous. But if it's not going quite his way, if it's not exactly how he needs it to be, he can hang in there. He's taken damage in fights and gone the distance, but sometimes he just wilts. That's where I think the struggle for him is coming into this fight. You know, does he recall any of those feelings? Does he put any extra pressure because Weidman was the first one to beat him? All these sort of intangible things that you can't really put your finger on. That's Uriah Hall. And so I do think it matters. The fact that he's on a 3-fight winning streak means less, although it's good for him to be on a nice streak. It's the second 3-fight winning streak of his UFC tenure. I think Chris Weidman's the same guy. He's going to have difficulty with Hall's speed. He's not going to want to stand in front of him. He's not going to want to take too many punches, but he's still the bigger, stronger wrestler. I think he has advantages there. I think, the things that made Chris Weidman very dangerous in the middleweight division still exist, even if he's taken a step back physically. I do feel like Weidman finds a way to win this fight. Sometimes he's got a guy's number, and I have a feeling like he's got Uriah Hall's number. But again, it's, with Weidman, it was nice to see him back at 185 because he's not a light heavyweight, and he shouldn't have been fighting in that weight class. He took a bad loss. No question about it. For him to come back to 85, get a good win against a tough guy, stout fighter, I think means a lot for him. And he'll ride that, he'll build on that, and he'll find a way to outpoint Uriah Hall and walk away with a victory.
Outstanding. Keith, Weidman versus Hall. Who do you like?
Well, I think Josh made a really good point. When I thought about this fight, I didn't go back to their first fight. I kind of thought it was irrelevant, such a long time ago. But, talking about Hall, who's been pretty open about his own mental struggles, I think Josh made a really good point. As far as Weidman, until he gassed against Akhmedov, he tried really changing up his style in his last fight. I don't know if you right away they started talking about his much lighter on his feet, working with Stephen Thompson, and then that lasted for about a round and then completely went away. He still has good output. He works behind a busy jab, but he's clearly lost a step. And in fairness, this is a guy that was never really known for his hand speed to begin with. He was more of a tight, classic wrestle boxer style, but not an overwhelming, hand speed guy. He's a good wrestler, good entries, also can get the body lock. If he gets you down, heavy top pressure, looks to advance on the ground, just a good overall grappler. When he's on the ground, as we've talked about in the past, he loves head series. He loves the front headlock. He loves to kind of create a positions. Darce, he's got to stuff the head, be heavy on the head. He wants that front headlock game. He has a submission game, but there's some things that really concern me. One is just the amount of, besides the losses he's had recently, the slew of injuries. It's hard for him to stay out there kind of get the game going, kind of get the gears moving. Yeah, he's had injuries. He gets a little momentum going, and then he's out for 6-9 months, a year. Also, at this point, I'm starting to really worry about his chin and whether he's either been knocked out or rocked in a lot of fights. I mean, even some of the fights that he's won recently, and like a Kelvin Gastelum fight, which I mean doesn't seem that recently ago, but he was still hurt really bad in that fight. Now you move over to Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall, he stands up very tall, lacks head movement, but he makes up for it by just being insanely strong. Fast hands, complete opposite of Chris Weidman when it comes to the hand speed. Works off a very crisp jab. I mean, everything really comes off his jab. He's got elite power. He'll have, it'll suddenly like seem like he's a little gun shy, and then all of a sudden it's spinning back kick to the stomach. So you can never kind of rest or feel like you're ahead in the game because suddenly it's spinning back elbow is coming at you. He doesn't want to be pressured though. Like he doesn't handle pressure well, and that's something that Weidman can do well with his wrestling. He likes to be in the middle, not a lot's going to happen. He likes to fight at a slow pace. If you get him down though, Hall doesn't get enough credit for how hard he is to submit. I mean, to go back all the way to the Antonio Carlos Jr., who I would say is probably a better grappler, or at least on the same level as Chris Weidman. And Chris Weidman had his back in all 3 rounds and was unable to submit Uriah Hall. So that's a nice feather in his cap. He has been rocked, though, in fights. He's been knocked out in fights that we didn't expect him to get knocked out. And as Josh said, he's lacked confidence, but I wonder if that's coming back, working with such a good team like Fortis MMA. Also, he's got back-to-back wins since joining them. So maybe this is the point where he kind of turns everything around. I mean, we think about some other guys that have been accused of that have completely changed. I mean, I think about when Robbie Lawler was supposed to be a head case. And then the run that he went on about, this point of his career, we all kind of gave up on Robbie Lawler, and he completely changed it. So as my prediction, when I look at Chris Weidman's record, I can't help to realize that he's lost to all studs. Like, even though his losses come to Luke Rockhold, Yoel Romero, Gegard Mousasi, Jacare Souza, Dominic Reyes. That's like the cream of the crop. I mean, we talk about he moved up to light heavyweight and he lost to Dominic Reyes. Then Dominic Reyes' very next fight arguably beat John Jones. Arguably won the title. So the question is Hall elite? I don't think he is. I don't think he's in that category with those guys. Hall is so frustrating. He had such an advantage on Anderson Silva in his last fight with the hand speed, but it wasn't until the 4th round until he finally got a finish. Because it wasn't until the very end of the 3rd round we started letting his hands go. So he gives his opponents, like he lost the 1st round to Anderson Silva just simply by doing anything. Like even though he is the better fighter, he gives his opponents the chance to win. Like, he kind of plays to their level. He plays to their game. So if he lets Chris Weidman bank some rounds early, like he might run out of time. Like that knockout might not be there. It's only a 3-round fight. If Weidman can spend a lot of this time turning into the wrestling match, he can win. However, besides his chin being gone, his gas tank is gone. I mean, he was extremely tired in that Akhmedov fight. Now, that was a very heavy wrestling match, so that happens. But he's lucky he won that fight because Akhmedov gassed out worse than he did. I'm really on the fence because I just don't trust. I mean, I don't trust Weidman's chin or anything at this point, the years of injuries, but I also don't trust Hall just from years I've seen him being inconsistent. But I finally think it's going to be a time where Weidman finally explodes, and it's just not that he's losing to the top guys anymore. He starts losing to the next tier down. I think Hall cracks him, and I think he puts him out. I think it's going to happen around round 3. So give me Hall by knockout in round 3.
Great. Looking at this one, Hall is coming in on a 3-fight winning streak, but I don't think any of the 3 guys he's beaten are on the level of Chris Weidman, even now, like the dilapidated 36-year-old Chris Weidman. I think this would be the best fight in that, or the best win in that streak for Hall if he were to win. And conversely, as you said, Keith, Weidman's lost a bunch of fights recently, but they've all been to people who are on a higher level than Uriah Hall is right now. So if and when I'm picking Hall to beat Weidman, I'm picking something in both directions that we haven't really seen yet. And I am picking it, and there are 2 main reasons. One, I'm concerned about Weidman's chin. When he lost the title to Rockhold put an accumulation of damage on him. Like Weidman won the first round, then Rockhold took over and just started rolling downhill, and the end came. Since then, all of his losses, like to Musasi, to Romero, Jacare, he was doing well until he caught a single shot that either just put him out or changed the whole course of the fight, and it was all over from there. If there's one thing that Uriah Hall is absolutely capable of doing, it is that. In fact, he's probably as capable of doing that as anyone in the modern history of this division. The other factor is the time that Hall has spent at Fortis. You won't find a bigger fan of Fortis MMA and what they've been doing over the past few years than me, but I don't think they're magic. Like, they're not for every fighter. They're still capable of being outcoached. I mean, just look at Abdul Razak Al Hassan last weekend, where he just lost a fight where he couldn't make adjustments. But they've been fantastic for Uriah Hall. I don't know if it's that they met at the perfect time in his career. Maybe they wouldn't have done him any good when he was, 26 years old, but he's been a different fighter since being there. He's always been a guy that, can definitely be taken out of the game mentally. He's also been a guy that even when he's winning and even when he's by far the more talented fighter, just doesn't pull the trigger. As like as in the Anderson Silva fight, where it took him 3 full rounds before he really started opening up. I'm not picking that to happen against Weidman. Something tells me that Hall wants this one back badly. So the only question for me is, in the first half a round, the first 2.5 minutes of the fight, does Weidman try for a takedown? And if he does he get it? Or how hard does he have to work for it? If he doesn't try for a takedown in the first half of a round, or he can't get it, this is going to be an ugly night for him, and possibly a short one. If he gets Hall down, it's anybody's guess. Weidman's gas tank it's still all right. Hall's has never been great. It's always been good enough, especially when he can dictate the pace of the fight, because he prefers to fight at a deliberate pace. But give me Hall by second round TKO. I think Weidman's going to want to get this to the ground. He's going to be getting some stuff on the feet that he doesn't like the taste of, and Hall's going to be able to keep away from it and just keep throwing it at him on the feet. And yeah, give me Uriah Hall by second round knockout.